Some connections don't knock on your door. They whisper inside your heart. You try to ignore it. You stay busy. You tell yourself it's nothing. Yet one person keeps returning to your thoughts, in quiet moments, in sudden memories, in emotions you didn't invite. This isn't weakness. This isn't obsession. And it's definitely not coincidence. Psychology tells us the mind remembers what the soul hasn't finished feeling. When someone stays on your mind without effort, it often means a silent emotional thread is still alive, stretching across distance, time, and silence. You may feel confused, you may feel pulled, you may even feel scared of what this means. But as Carl Jung once said, what you resist persists. Tonight, this message is not here to disturb your peace. It's here to explain it, because the person on your mind may be trying to reach you in ways words never could. Part 1. The unfinished emotional loop. When a person stays in your thoughts without invitation, psychology calls this an unfinished emotional loop. Something between you never reached closure, not an argument, not a goodbye, not even a confession. Just silence where truth should have lived. The mind seeks completion. The heart seeks understanding. And when neither gets it, memory becomes a messenger. You're not thinking about them. Your subconscious is trying to resolve something unresolved. Plato once said, "Love is the pursuit of the whole." When a connection ends without explanation, the soul feels incomplete. That's why their presence returns when you're calm, when you're vulnerable, when your defenses are down. This doesn't mean they will return physically. It means the emotional energy hasn't settled. Often, the person on your mind is also feeling the echo, not consciously, but emotionally. Human connection doesn't disappear just because communication does. It transforms, hides, waits, and the more you try to force yourself to forget, the louder the memory speaks, not to hurt you, but to remind you that something meaningful once existed. Part 2. Silence is not absence. Silence is one of the most misunderstood forms of communication. When someone disappears, we assume they stopped caring, but psychology reveals something deeper. Silence often protects emotions that feel too dangerous to express. The person on your mind may be silent, not because they don't feel, but because they feel too much. Friedrich Nietzsche wrote, "The thought of suicide is a great consolation. By means of it one gets through many a dark night." Not about death, but about escape. Silence becomes emotional survival. They may want to reach out, but fear rejection. They may miss you, but refuse to look weak. They may think of you, but believe timing is cruel. So instead of words, they send energy, memory, emotion, presence in absence. That's why they appear in your thoughts during still moments, late nights, quiet mornings, emotional pauses. Because silence doesn't end connection. It compresses it. And compressed emotions don't disappear. They wait for recognition. Part 3. Emotional mirroring and invisible threads. Have you ever thought of them suddenly and felt a shift in your mood without knowing why? That's emotional mirroring. Humans are wired to reflect those we've bonded deeply with. When one person feels an emotional surge, the other often senses it unconsciously. Carl Jung explained this as synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that are emotionally connected, not logically caused. You're not imagining it when they enter your mind without reason. Emotional bonds don't obey distance, they respond to intensity. When someone is thinking about you strongly, missing you, regretting, longing, that emotion doesn't stay contained. It leaks into the shared emotional memory you once created together. That's why the thought feels sudden, heavy, emotional, not nostalgia, not fantasy, but resonance. This doesn't mean fate promises reunion. It means the bond was real enough to leave a psychological imprint, and imprints don't fade easily. Part 4. Why letting go feels impossible. Letting go is often mistaken as forgetting, but true letting go means accepting without erasing, and that's far harder. The reason they stay on your mind is not because you're holding on, but because your heart never received permission to release. Arthur Schopenhauer said, "The heart feels what the eyes cannot see." You may understand logically that it's over, yet emotionally, something still waits. We struggle to release connections that made us feel seen, chosen, understood. Even briefly, the mind says move forward, the heart asks, but what did it all mean? Until meaning is found, memory remains active. This isn't weakness, it's humanity. Part 5. The message. Hidden in the thought. The person on your mind is not the message. The emotion they awaken is. They appear to show you something unresolved inside yourself, a boundary, a desire, a truth you avoided. Sometimes the message isn't go back, it's understand. Sometimes it's not wait, it's heal. Rumi wrote, "Why are you busy looking for love? Look at the barriers within yourself." The thought is asking you to listen, not to chase. When you understand what the connection taught you, the mind finally quiets, and peace replaces longing. Final message. If someone lives quietly in your thoughts, don't judge yourself for it. Not every connection is meant to stay, but every deep connection is meant to change you. Some people enter your life to teach your heart its depth, then leave so you never forget it. Honor the feeling without chasing the past. Receive the message without reopening the wound, because when the lesson is understood, the memory softens, and your heart becomes free again. If this touched your soul, like, comment, and subscribe. Your support keeps these messages alive.